Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here, you beautiful souls. And I thought that I would do a short video on happenings this week, March 6th through the 12th, because it includes a very important full moon. And also, March is turning out to be a monumental month of this year. And this is a big reset month. It's very, very important that you do not squander this month and find ways to clear the path, clear your internal knowing space, and connect yourself deeply with the heaven and earth. Because this month can feel a little bit discombobulating and even foreign at times. A bit like having to land at an airport in the middle of the night after multiple delays and stopovers and layovers, and you just feel like where is up and where is down, kind of a feeling with jet lags. You may experience some of this in March. So this full moon, it's going to be a great time for you to reset your balance, find your footings. And this full moon is going to illuminate a lot of maybe unwanted and gunk and junk inside you so that you can remove some of them. I will go into that a little bit more in detail shortly here. But this month is also filled with opportunities and possibilities if you can bring clarity inside you and remove some of these gunks and garbage, but also remove the fear. And maybe you have multiple fears, but if you can become aware of some of them and start to remove them, this month is going to set the stage for the rest of the year to come. So let's look into the full moon now. I'm calling this full moon the Great Reset full moon in Virgo. And like I said, March is a monumental month that can really set the stage for the rest of your year. But if you're not willing to make necessary adjustments and apply healthy habits, you are going to start to get stuck, and stagnations can become more of an everyday thing for you. So make sure that you are clearing and you're releasing, you're pausing to kind of create the space for yourself to choose the path that you're here to walk on. And this is the last full moon before astrological New Year, which is the equinox. So it's extremely important because this is the final review from actually December 2020, maybe early December on. If you could go back to your journals or your calendars and review what's been going on and what has accumulated within you that needs to be let go of, or you can cleanse and detox from. This is the final review time right around equinox. So this last full moon before the seasonal change, before this new reset that happens on an equinox. And it's not just that day, but around that time. It's important that you take some time to review what's been going on, what's been your patterns, and what are some of the things that you need to let go of, and what are some of the things that you need to finally commit to doing since December 2020. And this is the time of the beginnings and endings, because we're finally doing the Great Reset with this full moon and welcoming astrological New Year. So ending one, especially from the accumulated patterns from 2020, from December of that year into now, and then welcoming the new beginning of the seasonal change. And if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, as you know, we're going to be welcoming the spring. And if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, you're going to be welcoming the new seasonal change into the fall. So it's do not squander this week. It's so important. Well, but the fact is that the full moon is going to almost not force you, but really definitely going to hold your hand to discovering and revealing some of these things that you need to let go of. So I'm not too worried about that in that sense. And this full moon gives you the chance to pause and release tension, possibly sigh. And, before you take on anything new, it will give you the time to reassess and reevaluate and take a look at what is most important now and what isn't. So, be engaging with the full moon, especially on the 7th, but 8th into, I would say, all the way into the weekends. That energy is going to be pretty strong. And it is interesting that even though this is a full moon, the super new moon's energy is still playing behind this full moon. That's why the clearing and releasing and pausing and the stillness are going to be very important for you, even though the full moon is usually not the time that we address these conversations, these things. Okay. So the super new moon was, I think was so powerful that we are still experiencing a residual effect from it. And the full moon is kind of completing that process. And this full moon is also going to be asking you to choose your own path, which I will be talking about shortly a little bit more, in addressing the basic needs. Basic needs are mostly your physical needs, your body's needs, health of your body, and safety of where you live, and then your immediate relationships and things like that as well. So think of it as this is what the full moon is going to illuminate, a lot of areas in your life that supports you from the ground up. So it's like trying to build a house, but you're putting the basement in, you're putting the foundations in. That is what's going to get illuminated a lot. And I wanted to quickly go over the two events that are happening this week, March 8th and the 11th. I'll be doing the 2 live health intuitive reading calls and events. Each call is going to be about 90 minutes, and I'll be doing 2 of those this week. Plus, you're going to get 2 downloadable PDFs. One is going to be about the hormones and supporting the receptor sites of your hormones. Your hormones are like messengers. Think of them as your emails or something. But the emails have to arrive to your inbox. But oftentimes, many of us have the receptor side, so the receiving side that needs clearing because it's gunked up from toxins and environmental toxins and heavy metals, and just living, can gunk up that receptor sites. So I'll be giving you what I do to clear my receptor sites and what are some of the supplements that I take to support my own hormones. And we produce hundreds of hormones in our bodies. So even things like melatonin is a hormone, vitamin D is a hormone, but I will be focusing on the sex hormones to support your progesterone, estrogen, and testosterone as well. So I'm looking forward to this, and please sign up by going to masamicovey.com and click on courses, and you'll find a link there, but I will also include the link below. And thank you always for supporting us and subscribing to our YouTube channel. So let's dive into a little bit more about the full moon. So the full moon in general, but particularly this one, is revealing a lot of different things. So limitations of our old habits, imprints from past programming, excuses. I'm seeing this a lot. People are starting to notice that, wow, I just made some excuses for myself and I'm not moving forward with it. I'm already seeing that. And into, started actually end of February into March already, we're already noticing our patterns, addictions, obsessions, maybe even some of the autopiloting, just doing things over and over and expecting different results, right? That is somewhat the addictive personalities or addictive ways that we're doing things. The full moon is here to reveal that for us. Not so gently, actually. It's definitely showing you clearly what that is. So please do start to look at that, maybe take notes of it. And irrational fears, I'm seeing a lot of that even within myself. that I'm fearful of something or I'm anxious of something. And these are based on my old thinking, old beliefs and information, false beliefs and information that I've collected over time that's causing me to react to certain things from a fearful state. So noticing that, and the full moon is definitely going to be helping you to address that, or at least point it to the direction that you need to be looking at. And your own personal judgments for yourself, within yourself, but to others, projections. Projections is a big one. We've covered this a lot in several of our videos in the past, but it's very important that before you react to certain comments or certain maybe information or interactions, notice how much of that reaction is coming from you projecting something outward. And unfinished business and field of resistance, we will talk a little bit more about this shortly here, but particularly the unfinished business is something that the full moon is going to ask you to revisit and say, okay, you committed to doing something in January, you kind of got through it for 2 weeks and then you gave up on this. Can we get back into readdressing that? So allow the flow, allow the full moon to show you some of these, unfold these for you. And the field of resistance is something I will talk about here shortly, but I put fields of resistance because there are many, many fields out there. Maybe it's within you, maybe it's in the household that you live in, maybe it's in your neighborhood that you live in, maybe the communities that you're part of. But there are these resistance to grow or to flow or to create more of compassion around certain topics. Maybe there's some resistance around there. So start to notice where you're putting blockages, where you're putting your hands out and saying no to, and then there's certain areas that you want to create more flow, but you're having a hard time because you're in the midst of this fields of resistance. So then you need to maybe find a way out of that. And one of the things that I see with the resistance and that gets built up is within your own body. And I call it the garbage inside your body. And the garbage inside your body can create a tremendous amount of fields of resistance. And that's going to show up as stagnations, congestions, blockages, irritations, inflammation, and imbalances. And I'm seeing a lot of this right now. And the full moon is definitely going to show you where your garbage bags are piling up in. And, it's really, we have to start with our own selves, because if we are not exploring our own internal garbage bags, it's really hard to navigate the world that is telling us so many things and do this, do that. And we're getting very, very confused with what to follow, and what is your own inner knowing voice. It's really hard to find that when you are congested inside. And some of these stagnations and congestions and blockages, they do show up as brain fog, edema, lymph congestions, like upper lids, eyelids, and the lower eyelids are swollen. I'm seeing a lot of that in my clients. Poor sleep, that's a big one that's happening a lot. Congestions in the sinus cavity. So I'm seeing a lot of people having some mucus productions, coughing, sinus drippage. And so it's not even a head cold, but it's showing up as like allergies, almost like a seasonal allergies type of thing as well. And poor digestion, mood swings, hormonal imbalances, and also kind of this like nonstop busy minds and just the chatter in the minds, monkey brain, monkey minds, and having a hard time really focusing on what it is that you need to be focusing on. Well, that's because there's so much garbage inside your body that could come from not just toxicity in the body and the outside of you, but it could be toxic thoughts, it could be toxic emotions. Maybe you've done a little too much emotional work and it got stirred up. Maybe you did do some great ancestral work, healing work, but it got stirred up and you didn't have enough ways or maybe methods to clear some of that out. That's why March, and especially after equinox, is a beautiful, beautiful time to do some cleanse. And I'm actually starting the cleanse already because I wanted to try out this one particular one to see how I feel. And I can tell the difference so much. I am doing so much better. My skin is doing better. My hair is doing better. My colon is moving. I am having so much better time with the morning bowel movements as well as sleep quality. So I will talk about that more in the coming weeks, and I will add the link to the cleanse that I've been doing with my husband Chris below so that you can check that out if you're interested in. And I wanted to just show this slide so that you can see what happens is that when we have too much garbage in our systems, and that includes our minds as well, we can get very confused. There's so many swirly lines telling you to do this, telling you to do that, get this certification, take that course, or, do this because this is what's wanted by you, but not by you, but by others. Others want you to do this, not you. So it takes time and silence and stillness and cleared body and the mind, because there's no difference between the health of the mind and the brain and the health of the rest of your body. They need to be cleared up in order for you to be able to make the choice that's leading you to the direction, to the authentic path that you're meant to be walking on. So being lost in thoughts is the opposite of being embodied. So, this guy's kind of perhaps lost in thoughts or getting pulled in many, many thoughts. So endless thoughts about other people's thoughts, right? This is going to make you feel disconnected, and endless thoughts about what you should do based on what everybody else is telling you can take you out of being embodied within yourself. So pause for a moment and check in with yourself, because if your mind is getting quite confused or full, and in turn you're starting to have some brain fogs and you can't think straight, then you do have garbage bags that are starting to accumulate inside you. And this is the best time really to start thinking about, how can I do a spring cleanup or a fall cleanup? Because you always want to do some cleanse in the spring and the fall around the equinoxes, so that you can choose your authentic path and you can dare to step into your authentic path and take those steps forward. And I wanted to talk quickly about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is a pyramid that you might have seen somewhere if you've taken any psychology courses or psychotherapy courses or any certifications like that as well. But this is showing that it doesn't always move in a pyramid, like from bottom to the top kind of a thing. And it is a dynamic movement between these needs. However, if you look at the bottom two here, the safety needs and the physiological needs, these are the basic needs. And if you lack in basic needs, and if you're struggling with anything to do with, let's say, you are not living in a household that is safe, or you're not living in a neighborhood that is secure, or have beautiful trees around in the nature that you can rest by, or you're not drinking purified water and adding some minerals and getting the electrolytes into your body, then your physical needs are not being met. And if you are not eating well, clean, organic foods and choosing to eat that as often as you can, then your physical needs are not being addressed. And it's really hard to just eat whatever you like in the world that we live in, because we live in a very, very toxic world. I mean, those garbage bags are accumulating for all of us, no matter who you are, how well you've taken care of yourself. So, this is very important this week, particularly before the equinox, but around the full moon, to sit down with your pen and a paper and get realistic. Be practical and realistic about, how can I continue to support my physical needs? How can I start to support my physical needs better for some of you? And how do I address the safety and the need for me to have a warmth in my household, maybe coolness in my household, so I can sleep through the night and start to rest, so I don't wake up exhausted, my hormones are not wacky, all those things. It really requires you to get realistic about it, be grounded in what is possible here and now, organize your thoughts, identify what you need right now, and take inventory of what it is that you require and also don't require. So this full moon in this month in particular, the March is a monumental month. You will be able to gain more support and able to stick with your commitment in practicing daily healthy habits and setting routines. So choose and use this time wisely. And as long as you realize that you have to still take care of your basic needs of your physical body and the safety needs, and stop resisting and sabotaging yourself, I think you will be able to make big, big shifts, stride, and take that authentic path and dare to choose the path that you are meant to be on. So think about some of the actionable steps that you can take. And I do think that taking the actionable steps for yourself this month becomes what's very loving to you. And I've talked about the difference between I am love versus I am loving in the video previous to this one, the super new moon one. So you may want to go back and re-listen to that video and just feel into the difference between I am love versus I am loving. But the key here is, what action is loving for you right now, so that you can appreciate your body and then love this miraculous body that you are, and support the basic physical needs so that you can strive and step into the authentic path, onto this authentic path that you're meant to. And the last thing I wanted to share is that this picture I chose because they are sharing with one another something that is, I think, important to both of them. Or maybe one is, sharing and the one is listening. So I wanted to talk about this for the month of March, and particularly for the full moon this week, is for you to share your goals and aspirations with others. But this is the caveat. Here's the most important things, is that choose the person very carefully. Okay. So share your goals and aspirations with someone that you trust and value their opinions. So in a new set of studies and researchers that the researchers are finding out right now, is that the people showed greater commitment and performance when they told their goal to someone they valued. And this particular study came out in 2019 in the Journal of Applied Psychology, and it was done through the Ohio State University's Fisher College of Business. So if you're interested, you can look into this. But this study showed that this study counters popular media recommendations that you should stay silent about your goal. and don't tell anybody. So that idea of do not share your goals became very popular after 2010's TED Talk. And it was Derek Sivers, last name is Sivers. He did a TED Talk in 2010 and said that it's better to keep goals secret. And he presented research stretching as far back as 1920s to show why people who talk about their ambitions may be less likely to achieve them. However, this 2019 study is basically debunking that and saying, and I'm going to quote the author of the study, his name is Howard Klein. He says, quote, contrary to what you may have heard, in most cases, you get more benefit from sharing your goal than if you don't, as long as you share it with someone whose opinion you value. And I think that's the key, as long as you share it with someone whose opinion you value. So, in another quote that he says is the important thing is that you need to care about the opinion of who you are telling. So just pause for a moment, because this full moon is going to illuminate that person for you in your mind's eye. And it will say, okay, this is the person that I want to share my goals with and aspiration with, because I value that person's opinion. So take a moment here and think of that person. Yeah, I think you know that person. Maybe you may have trusted friends, a couple of really close friends, that they do care that you achieve those goals and that you will stick with them. So find that person or the group of them and start to do the sharing with that person and let them know that I'm sharing this because I want you to maybe support me, or I want to be accountable. And you can say, I value your opinion. So hopefully that helps you to think about this month, what this full moon is going to illuminate for you. There's a lot going on this month in terms of the Great Reset and the detox that is going to come about this month, and the full moon that's going to support you in finding what areas of your life, your bodies, your mind, emotional bodies, and your energetic bodies that you may need to clear out and clean out. So I hope you will gain something from this, and then you can move into doing some things that is loving for yourself.